What's up, guys? I have someone super awesome I'm excited to have here with us today. Mr. Madison Hoke. Madison and I, we've known each other for probably about, 4 years now?
Yeah, close to it.
You started with me originally at Simple Solar in, was it 2021? 2021. So Madison and I, we have a history. He's now coming back and is a team leader here at Better Life. And he originally came to work with me at Simple Solar because he saw a couple things that we were doing over there, saw some excitement in that opportunity. He came into the organization, was super coachable, super disciplined, and in his first year, he ended up becoming the #1 salesperson in the organization, the highest paid salesperson in the organization. And shortly after Simple Solar sold, he ended up going off to another major sales organization in the solar industry. And at that organization, he also then became the #1 salesperson, #1 installer at that company, and has recently transitioned over to Better Life. And I'm super excited to have him be part of the team again, get to work with him again. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, brother.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So go ahead. Just I gave you a little bit of a brief summary of kind of like our history and your experience. That's like elevator pitch, you'd say. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Madison Hoke?
Yeah, just a simple guy from North Georgia. Grew up in a middle class family. Was taught work ethic and good principles and values by my parents. Grew up in church, so that had a big impact on me. But I was always in sports, and I feel like that was really where I was shaped and molded. Had tons of great coaches, tons of people that gave me great insight, gave me, a good path to go down. And I ended up doing really well in sports. I was recruited D1 for football and lacrosse. And then I got to the end of my career in high school and realized that I was burnt out and didn't want to do it anymore. My parents were a little upset because, they spent all the time and money and sacrifice for me to play. But I'm kind of the person that once I've made up my mind, it's already done. So there's no real going back. And from there, I ended up going to college for like a year, dropped out. It wasn't for me. I knew it from the jump. And luckily, in the meantime, I was plugged into a network marketing company. I don't know how many people remember like the energy drinks that the crazy college kids were trying to sell. Yep, man.
Yeah.
The pyramid scheme. Yeah. So I got involved in that, and like I literally made no money at all. But what it did for me was it expanded my mind. And once your mind expands, it can never contract. You can never go back. And so I saw at an early age, 18 years old, completely broke, had no money. My truck broke down literally the day that I moved into my dorm in college. Like moving all of my stuff down there, I blew my transmission. So like I literally had no transportation, no money, like just thugging it out as a college guy, and then eventually started just working in that college town and found the sales gig. And I learned a lot from those guys. I learned like how much you can do for yourself in a short period of time if you're not capped. I learned that if you have a good vehicle and you actually utilize it, that you can get whatever you want. And then I also, like the biggest one was like, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything you want. Got put onto Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, all the gurus, if you will, and they just completely changed my life. And deep dive into self-development for a couple of years. I stopped going out, I stopped partying, I stopped drinking. I did all that in high school. That was like my MO, was like the party jock guy, and turned it around, and I was just literally diving into books. The first book I actually ever read front to back was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. And after I read it, that was when I made the decision to drop out. So there was just like, all the right things happening at the right time in my life, like people being put into place and decisions that I made, like not turning back, not wavering on them, just sticking to them, even though they got really tough sometimes. And, eventually I found Door to Door. And that's really where the real story started.
I love that. When you, your parents, were they entrepreneurs?
So my mom was a teacher. She actually recently just retired, so she did it for like close to 30 years. My dad has a landscaping business. To this day, he's like 65. So in a sense, yes, like he owns his own business, but I have a different viewpoint on that because, and I will never talk ill about my family or anything like that, but I just see things a little differently. And, being an entrepreneur is building something and creating something. If you open up a business and you're doing the same thing over and over and you never expand, you never grow, more or less you're just an employee for yourself. And so, that's his model and that's what he wants. I tried coming in and I tried, at a certain point before I got into door to door, I was like, I'm going to help my dad scale this thing out. I'm going to hire, I'm going to build, I'm going to sell, and he wanted no part of it, and which is totally fine. Like, if you're happy, do what makes you happy. But I grew up seeing him in the mindset of like, I'm not going to go work for somebody else. I can't do it. It doesn't work for me. And then also seeing my mom working for somebody else and like being, at the school until 6 o'clock at night with her sometimes, and like going in early with her, and like, I can't drive. I'm 8 years old, right? So at the school from early in the morning till late at night, like every day.
So where do you think that like drive and desire comes from then? Like, because not everyone, wants to go to that. A lot of people, they want like the safety or the security. Even you said like, your first day going into college, you knew from the jump that that wasn't the thing for you. So like, where did that come from? The desire to like have more or be more?
From seeing it was possible, like where I grew up when I was growing up, that span of time was the 13th richest county in the nation. Now, I didn't live in the rich part. I was on the outskirts, and I just so happened to be able to go to a school where my mom taught, where the kids with the money, they all lived on the lake, right? The kids with the money were going there, and so a lot of my friends, their parents were really successful. They were doing really well. Like one of my best friends, his parents owned like a storage and dock supply company, and like all sorts of stuff. And I just got to see like in day-to-day life what it looked like to have options. And we had what we needed. We always did. My family always made sure of that. My parents sacrificed whatever they had to so that we didn't go without. But seeing people live with option and excess and a bit of luxury, and like it was just more fun. And like growing up, I always wanted a dirt bike. All my friends had them and I never got one. Like the closest I got to it for Christmas one year was a motor scooter. And my parents got me a motor scooter, and my neighbors across the street, they got dirt bikes.
Yeah.
And so I'm like putzing behind them, on a motor scooter, electric scooter. And just little things like that, where like I go over to my friend's house, I get to ride the dirt bike. And I get to hang out on the lake, and I get to ride on the boat and go tubing, and like just things that you enjoy, like life,
So that exposure to, let's call it money. So that exposure to money, like, do you think that helped push you to have more of a desire to be able to achieve that for yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I like I don't know if this is the right word, but groomed in the best way possible by my parents, because it was like, hey, we're going to give you anything you need. Whatever you need, we'll give you that. Anything you want, you need to go earn it.
Love that.
And so early on, I remember like creating my first hustles. It was, I never played Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh in my entire life. I still don't know what the characters are or anything like that. What I did know is for everybody's birthday, the parents want the simplest thing, the most generic thing for that age group. I always said I wanted Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, because they would give me Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Pokemon cards, and I would take kids' ice cream money for the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So they would ask their parents for ice cream money for a couple weeks, bring me like $5, $6, $7, $10, whatever it was, and buy the one card that they really needed, right? Stuff like that. It's just flipping, random things. And then when I was old enough, starting to like actually work jobs. Like I worked as I flipped burgers. My sister ran a little grill hub type thing at a nice neighborhood in like Alpharetta, Georgia. It was their pool, and they had a grill, and I was in this little shack flipping burgers, making fries in the fryer, like sweating. It's 99 degrees outside, and I'm in an enclosed thing with burgers going and fries flipping. It shaped me, and molded me, and showed me that like whatever you want, it's not going to come easy, but you can get it. And, all the way down through even sports, I worked through playing sports year round. I literally I would Friday night football games. I did not come off the field. I was like star player. So I was on every single special team, offense and defense, never left the field, bruised, battered, beaten down. The next morning, early Saturday, I'm off to the rec parks to go referee. I go referee a couple games, make a couple $100, and that was my income for the week. And I did that throughout high school and did whatever I could during the summer working with my dad.
So you've always been a worker.
always worked.
Yeah.
Like literally since, I can remember I worked.
How important is it like to have the right vehicle?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's literally everything. It's, if you're not in the right vehicle, like the energy expenditure is not going to equate the same way at the end of the day. Like I put, 1 + 1 goes in. If I'm not in the right vehicle, I'm not getting 2, like we both come from solar. There's a lot of variables in there, right? The 1 + 1 can be the funding company and the installer. Okay, well, you put glass on the roof, you have the installer and you have the funding company, but what happens if you do your job and you don't get whatever you're supposed to get? There's all these things that can occur.
We'll jump in. We'll jump into the solar stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I worked very hard physically for a long time, working with my dad in landscaping, working in other stuff. I worked at a Christmas tree farm for 7 Christmases, loading and unloading trees off the back of a trailer in the freezing cold and like wet swamps and stuff. And I've done, like, I dug ditches for 9 months with my dad in a water line company.
Yeah. So you got into door to door when?
So I was about to turn 23.
Okay.
This was like 2017, I want to say.
Okay.
I was about to turn 23, and I had gone through what I would say was like a rebirthing sort of year. When I left the college town, I had a girlfriend. The reason I'd stayed there was I had a girlfriend for 3 years, and when I left, she broke up with me, and it was the first real relationship I ever had, and it bent me, broke me,
shattered.
It was full blown the worst thing that had ever happened to me. And
at the time,
in the moment, yeah, absolutely in the moment.
But probably one of the best things to happen for you from a personal development level.
Yeah, it couldn't have been better.
You think that men need to get like shattered like that? I think so too. I think like when I've had like the most devastating heartbreaks is right after those, and they've happened several times.
Yeah.
But every single time after those moments when I was like totally destroyed, I elevated so much.
Yeah. 100%.
Every single time.
I was like not coming out of my room, not eating. I got down to like 192 pounds.
Yeah. Same shit happened to me.
Yeah. Like it was bad. And then I made a decision one day because I had done all this training. It's really funny. It's like, the biggest mystery in human nature is we know what to do. And a lot of the guys in sales, they know what they need to do to hit the income marks that they want to hit. And they're just not doing it.
It's quite simple.
Yeah. So I knew, after reading all these books, taking all these courses, like all that stuff, all the personal development, I'm in my head completely messed up, crying randomly, not coming out of my room. And then I'm like, you just have to decide, like, you're just going to take control. And I decided to do 2 things. I was going to commit to 2 things that required me to physically go. One was I'm going to go to church again. And number 2, I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to hit it with intention. So I go to church with the intention to eventually run a group. That was my intention there. Then the gym, I signed up myself for like a 90-day, it was a bulking program. It's called Shortcut to Size by Jim Sapani. I still remember it. And I went through and I followed that to a T, and I went to church and started to build my relationship with God again. And I went through all of the lines of communication to put myself in a situation where I could eventually lead a youth group, which I did. I ended up doing that. And through that year process, I did 4 different 90-day programs. So it was basically every 3 months I was doing a new program, and I stuck to my guns on church. And that 1 year just changed the entire trajectory of my life, because I gained so much confidence from that, from doing what I said I would do and not missing one day, not one meal, not nothing. I stuck to the entire thing. People didn't recognize me. I was shredded, 6-pack, jawline. Like I was like a different person from the sad, mopey bags under my eyes. Like somebody you just like look at and you're like, what's going on with that guy? Like totally different rebirth, transformation.
You think anyone can change their life in 1 year?
Anybody.
All it takes is 1 year.
But what they can do in 5, like everybody says that, but it's so powerful when you really understand it. You just shift if you commit to that and realize like how short of a time period that actually is and how much you want to get done, like focus on the main things. I picked 2. I picked my spiritual health and my physical health. Those are the 2 that I worked on. I didn't work on money. I literally worked on those 2 things, and it completely changed the person that I was. And then when I was turning 23.
So this is after the year of change.
This is after it. I was working with my dad. I had dug water lines for 9 months with him, which is literally just day in, day out digging trenches. All that was. Working with him in landscaping. So again, digging holes, moving heavy stuff. Then I go to him a couple weeks before my 23rd and I say, hey, look, I don't know what I'm going to do, but like, do not let me come back to work for you. If I try and I still show up, don't pay me. Like I'm not going to do this anymore. I need to figure something out. You know, like $25 an hour is not my life. And after I did that, the week before I turned 23, a guy from high school that I knew hit me up and was like, dude, I've been doing roofing for like 6 months and I've made like 80 grand and I think you would kill it. I'm actually starting my own company and I have 2 people on my list that I want to work with and you're one of them. And I was like, let me see what this is about. And so I met him like the next day at a Panera at like 8 p.m. He comes in.
So something that's interesting, like right before you go into that, like you had made like a decision in your mind that you're not doing this after you turn 23. And before you jump into it, tell me a little bit about like the power of the mind.
Yeah, I can go all day on that.
Yeah.
I have spent more time listening and studying Bob Proctor, who I know you know, than anybody else. And taking courses. Like when I was broke, I was literally broke, living in a trailer in Statesboro, okay, to paint some scenery for you guys. Working at a furniture shop, the most I ever made in a week there was $800. And I spent $5,000 on a program, which was all about the mind for Bob Proctor's. It was one of Bob Proctor's reps when he was still alive.
So you're making $800 a week, but you spent $5,000. So like you went into debt to do this. Like you
I
borrowed.
had saved up money.
Oh, you saved up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had always saved up. I always had a cushion, you know.
Yeah. So why like that would take almost 2 months to be able to pay for that. Like why would you invest that much money? Why would you invest 2 months of your time on a trade-off on some risk that could not work?
Because I learned earlier that, if you really want something particular, find somebody that has it in abundance. Not just has it, but like has it in abundance. Like Cardone says, like, don't take my advice from millionaires, take advice from billionaires. So the people that I was looking at as mentors and role models, these young guys, you might know of one of them. His name's Alex Morton.
Yep.
So he was a young guy that I met. He probably doesn't even remember. I know he doesn't remember this, but I was 18 years old. I rode in the back of some guy's car that recruited me into VEMA up to Ohio, where I slept on the floor of a nasty hotel room with like 6 other people and went to a conference where he was speaking along with like Darren Hardy, Gary Vee, a couple of other people. This was 2013. And he was staying at the same hotel and we were waiting the first night of the event. We were waiting outside for a ride. We were going to go eat. And he comes out and it was him and another guy that was like big upline guy. And they were just talking about their watches. Like it was just, they didn't know I was standing there. I just overheard them. And he had like $120,000 watch on. And then I'm just sitting here thinking like, I literally have no money. I'm sleeping on a floor. And like immediately I was like, I understand something I don't. And then I started like listening to a lot of his stuff in depth and he was subtle about it, but he talked about like the stuff that Bob Proctor was saying. And so when I caught on to all these guys saying certain things that it was like making the correlation there, they were just repeating some of the stuff. I was like, okay, that's it. Like, that's the thing. Like, they're all doing this. They're all, adopting these ideas and these frameworks and these identities, and that's it. And so I locked in on that. And I was like, whatever it takes, like, I'm going to do that. And so, yeah, $5,000 was a lot to me at the time, but I knew like $5,000 wasn't a lot to somebody like that. And they would do it. So why wouldn't I if I want to be there? Mm-hmm. So that's why I did it, because I knew that if I actually used the information and I absorbed it, I didn't just listen to it, I heard it, right? Mm-hmm. Then I could actually make a change. Like we've talked about this a number of times, but all that people are missing is information.
That's it.
Like I'm missing some information and that's costing me multiple 7 figures a year. If you show me something that can get me a little bit closer and it costs me $20,000,
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's very well. It's kind of logical. It's like, you know, would you pay $100K to learn how to make $1 million? It's at that point it's free. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So okay, so you invest program right. This is right before you start getting to the door-to-door space, right? So right before you get into door-to-door, I want to just talk about that mentorship piece because I'm a huge advocate for mentorship, and I don't believe that someone should have 20 different mentors.
No.
Like you need to like lock in on like 1, 2. Maybe 3, depends on like what area of life you're trying to seek mentorship from. Because first of all, if you have too many mentors, you get distracted and paralyzed because you have contradicting information and you don't know what person to listen to. So like you got to find the person who like you want to be like. That's the first thing like that I take a look at. Like one piece of information that I live by is never take advice from people that you wouldn't trade places with.
Yep.
That's first thing. And second thing is if someone tells you how to do something but they've never done it themselves, then they have no idea how to do it because they would have the result that they're telling you that you'd get. So you invest in this Bob Proctor course, pay $5K, you get some mentorship. Tell me like what's like the biggest breakthrough, if you have to boil it down to one thing, because we started talking about the mind and the power of the mind. That's how you got into the Bob Proctor element. If you had to pick like one major breakthrough moment that you got from there that you were like, okay, cool, I've now had an identity shift. I see myself in a different light now, and now I know what to do. Like what's that big? You're nodding your head like you already know what it is.
I already know, yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
So the thing that I had heard, but until I understood, didn't do anything for me, right? Because you got to be in the right place for the right information to hit you. Anything you think, it's true, and you control your thoughts, which inherently means that you control your reality. You're controlling literally everything that's in place. So understanding that, like, okay, I'm thinking right now that $10,000 a month is hard to have or to earn, right? Because I'm in a place where if I could get even past 4,000, that's crazy, right? And I just started adopting different belief systems. Like Bob talks about that a lot. Realizing that what I was thinking was the thing that was holding me back and that I was the one thinking it was like, oh my, what am I doing to myself right now? Like, why are you just like, stop thinking that.
Yeah.
Stop thinking that. You know, like me and Amanda, my wife, we just had this conversation the other day about like, all right, we're going to switch up our mindset on this. And like the mindset is now this is easy. Like we just had another baby, you know, like it's not the easiest thing when you have a newborn baby and a 2.5-year-old, right? It's challenging. It's a learning lesson, but we can take two different paths on this whole thing. It's either, you know, we're grateful and this is easy, or what did we sign up for? This is hard. I don't like this. You know, poor me, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that, I can't handle the screaming, like whatever, right? You can either pick the one that serves you or not. Like we've talked about people in businesses. It's very polarizing. It's very black and white. The law of polarity is as real as the law of gravity. And so you're either an asset in a company or you're a liability. There's no in between. There's no, like, I hate that A players recruit B players recruit C players don't recruit. No, like you're either awesome and you're an asset or you freaking suck and you're draining the energy in between.
Right.
I've seen people be on the lower end of the two and others try to justify because maybe they had a little friendship with them or whatever. That's just your emotions getting in the way of actual data and logic. You're either an asset or you're a liability.
That's right.
You're either good for the organization or you're bad for the organization. And the same thing goes for your life and your thoughts and your habits and everything else. They're either serving you and they're getting you closer to your goals or they're not. There is no null.
Right.
There is no in between.
Right.
You're either growing or dying. Like you've heard a million different sayings. They can frame it up any way you want. The law remains the same. You cannot have light without dark.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Dude, I'm all with you on that. And you're totally right. Like, you know, it's what you think is what you do, what you think is what you say is what you do is what you're known for. Like that's all. So everything boils down to thought because thought creates actions. So you go into door to door, you start there. How long are you doing roofing for? How many years? You're roofing for 4 years and you end when you're like, what, 24 years old, 25 years old?
Yeah, I left roofing, so 20 to 24, 5.
27?
6.
26.
Yeah, I left when I was
So
26.
you're 20, you have a pretty successful career in that. You start making pretty good income and you manage to accumulate close to 200K saved in the bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 26 years old. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. You know, you're on paper, you're more wealthy than 95% of the planet. You know, most of the planet is in debt, doesn't have any money, losing money on a daily basis, and you've accumulated, what a lot of people would classify as a lot of freedom with that. And now today, you and I, we don't think like that. We don't, because on what's on paper doesn't really match what our mindsets are. Our mindsets are obviously far greater than like 200K, like having 200K in the bank account. It's like, how are we not doing this on a weekly basis? How are you not doing this like on a daily basis, right? And that's the thing, like we can do that. We have the ability to do that. You do this for a few years, you get into solar. What are some of the big things? I want to go through like your period through solar, because even though you made like a lot of money during the roofing element and roofing stage, I think you experienced probably a lot of hardship through solar. And I think if I know it correctly, I think that you probably experienced more development during that period than your roofing days. Would you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Roofing was like a comfortable entry into sales for me. Well, I have to take that back, but eventually I got comfortable.
Yeah.
And then that's when I had like a realization of like, I need to do something different. Number one, it was mundane and I didn't enjoy it anymore. But number two, I was comfortable.
Yeah.
And, some people look at that as a good thing. I don't. I'm not trying to stay where I'm at ever. So
You're grateful, but you're not satisfied.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was always grateful. I mean, I came from a household where, neither of my parents ever touched six figures.
Yeah.
Ever.
How was it for them when they saw you do that? They're proud.
Yeah.
How'd that make you feel?
To be honest, I fell behind.
Okay.
Which I've always felt. I think it's
But that's a trait of hyper performers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fell behind. I was happy that I was finally like in the thing. Like I knew I had already become the person that could do it. And it was just like, where's the vehicle? Right. And I was like keeping myself out of the game, working these comfortable jobs. And then I'm like working this hourly wage job, but studying Bob Proctor telling me I can do literally anything. And it just like eventually
they don't click.
The thoughts and the actions, they create the unhappiness because it's not in alignment. And I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to go any further. Like I'm going to have to push myself out of the nest here. But what's funny is like I can't say it was comfortable because there was lots of growing pains. There's lots of frustration through that 4 years. I mean, I'm grateful for all of it. For anybody out there that's like getting started in sales, dude, I started knocking doors in November, end of November of 2017, and I had like zero training, like how little training. I saw somebody get on a roof one time and like look around and then got down and they're like, all right, cool, we're gonna make a ton. And like that was like it. And then they're like, all right, you go knock tomorrow. And I'm in like this neighborhood of these houses that are like 500,000 plus. And I'm wearing a leather jacket, black sunglasses, black hat, and jeans, walking around the neighborhood looking super suspicious.
Yeah.
I got the cops called on me immediately, And then I proceeded to knock for about 100 days without a deal. And I'm talking like...
How do you keep going after that?
Because it was either that or die.
Yeah. Then no option.
It was like burn the boats,
Yeah.
dude. I had already read Think and Grow Rich, and that was like the mindset I went into it with. It was like, burn the boats.
Yeah. Like, it's the only way.
It's literally the only way to operate. So I go and knock for that 100 days, and like in the meantime, I'm like getting my hopes up because, in roofing, you did it for a little bit. Like we would do insurance work. So you file a claim with a homeowner and then...
I didn't do any insurance work.
Okay.
My shit was retail.
Just to give a very brief overview.
I sold like 2 million retail.
Okay.
Like that's golden door retail.
Okay. Good for you. I
was a dog.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a builder.
Always
I'm a builder now, but I was a dog when I was in the field.
I know you told me you sold that company out of business, which is sick.
I did.
Well, not for them, but for you.
Yeah. No, I lost all my commissions. Wasn't sick for me either.
Well, you should have stopped.
Should have stopped?
Yeah, you should have stopped if you wanted to get paid.
Yeah, it's impossible. I'm a high performer.
Yeah.
High performers.
Boo-hoo. So insurance work, you file a claim. You're supposed to sign a contingency with the homeowner so that if the roof is purchased by the insurance company, you get to use the insurance proceeds to pay for the roof.
That's right.
And then you get to keep the spread.
That's right.
This company that I'm with is like so stupid and like new and they know nothing. They're just like, we're going to do roofing. And that was like it.
Yeah.
You know, got some shirts on and now we're roofers.
Yeah.
We had no contingency. And so I was going out and I was like actually getting deals. I was filing claims with people, doing inspections, which by the way, I hated more than anything, like climbing up on those roofs. And it's like Georgia, where I'm from, it like has really steep roofs. And so you're getting on a 45-degree angle on like an old roof where the shingles are really slippery and stuff. And it's just super sketch. I hated it. And I was doing that and then not having a contingency and then getting the roof purchased by the insurance company. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to quote this out with a couple companies. You can give us a bid. And it's like, literally, they just take the cheapest option.
Yeah. And then they collect.
And then I'm like cut out of, I think I got cut out of like 8 deals before I ever got my first one. Cause I finally like said, dude, I'm literally getting deals and you guys don't have a piece of paper. Like just get it off the internet. Just put our name on it and you know, we'll be fine. And that's what we finally did. But yeah, I knocked for like 100 days without a deal. And it was freezing. I mean, it's through the winter in Georgia. They have full-blown seasons there. So it's like 20 degrees windy on top of a roof, freezing my hands off and my feet off, and finally get that deal. And as soon as I got it, I was like, here we go. And then for the next couple of months, I got that within month 3 of the year. So, you know, the next 9 months I proceeded to sell. And I earned like 75,000 in 9 months, which to me was like, oh man, big dog, like that's sick. Then I meet a mentor through, no, call him a mentor now. At the time, I was a mentor. I meet a guy through a training course that I had asked to go to kind of like level up my game because I'm into that thing. And the guy was like, yeah, dude, like how much you throwing down? And like I told him, and then he kind of just asked like subtly like how much I was making, and I told him, and I was like kind of proud of it. And he was like, oh no, like, you know, he had been around the block, he'd been in sales for a long time, like 30 something years old. And he was like, dude, like I'm not trying to like pull you away or anything, but I'm just gonna show you something. And he had me come to his country club and go out on the golf course with him. And then he sat down with me in the country club afterwards and showed me on paper, black and white through their system, how much I would have made had I been with them. And instead of 75,000, I had to work harder for less results. And it just, and like, not only that, but like just to get a result in the first place, I had to like, I forged myself in that year. I know like that's the reason I had the trajectory I did in door to door is because I went 100 days without a deal. I got screwed on commissions. Now I've learned 2 really big lessons that you need to know in door to door, right? So through that process, you know, I went on to build another guy's company and got out of that and eventually ran my own shop until I came to Simple.
All right, so you're done with roofing. You transition to Simple. We start working together. You come in, you absolutely crush it. You become the top salesperson literally in your first year. And you know what I say, and a lot of people don't understand this. You know, Madison didn't come in and clear close to $500,000 his first year in that year. It was, you know, the prior 8 years of development, training, discipline, work ethic, failure, etc., that all built up to having a skill set. And when you had the skill set, that skill set gave you ability to be able to go clear, you know, close to $500,000 in you know, less than 12 months. A lot of people think it's like, you know, oh, like anyone can come in and get started with something and then just come in and make that type of money. Where I know it's not true. It does require a lot of development. You know, you crushed Simple and you blew it up out of proportion and did really, really well. And you know, and quite frankly, like we did it in a very fast period. But most people don't realize that the previous decade, I was just getting my ass kicked. And the previous decade was like so much work to be able to be the person and have the identity to be able to do it. So your first year in Simple, you come in, you do pretty well. What happens? Just walk me through your first couple of years at Simple and you getting into solar and some of the development that you had there.
So coming in, like really didn't know anything. And like, this was like early stage.
Me and you went to a hotel and I just trained you at a hotel. Didn't we?
Yeah.
We sat in like some chairs that looked like this and we pulled out a pen and paper.
Oh, no.
In Houston, wasn't it?
I'll tell this story. So yeah, no. I DM'd you on Instagram, you didn't respond. DM'd you on Instagram, you didn't respond. DM'd you on Instagram a 3rd time and told you what I had done in the past 4 years and was like, I'm actually serious about this and like you need to respond. So you hop on the phone with me, you're like very nonchalant about it. You're like, yeah, like we got a great team, blah, 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 like blah. And I'm sure like at that point you had everybody hitting you up and like it's hard to take people serious after you get burned by a lot of people wasting your time. So I knew what was going on and I knew I had to make an impact. And you're like, all right, talk to Donnie. And Donnie's my right-hand man, blah, blah, blah. And it was like a Friday night. I talked to Donnie on the phone and he was like, yeah, bro, like we have a guest speaker coming into office on Monday, doing some training stuff. Like if you come out, like we get you like skilled up. And he kind of blew me off too. And
I love that.
yeah. And so.
Well, dude, so many people are bullshit.
Absolutely.
I want it.
I'll talk.
And like, look, like a lot of times we just give people barriers. Like we're intentionally giving people, we're making it harder for people to come in because people who are like you be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna overcome it. And the people that we don't want aren't gonna overcome that barrier. Yep. So it's actually, we're intentional about making it difficult for people to come in because those who really want it, it's like you said earlier, people who really, really want it will find a way to make it happen.
Yep, always.
Yeah.
So I'm out there in Walnut.
It's so fun. I remember seeing you at the office. Yeah.
I met you and you were surprised. You were pretty surprised yourself. And Ian Wint was out there.
That's right. Yep.
He did his, his whole thing. And like, I was just like, wow, this is really cool. Like there's a lot of people out here. Cause like the teams that I built for roofing was like 5 guys, it was like couple people. I'm like, hey, this is how you do it, and train them up and then go off. And I never saw an override on it. And I was just building somebody else's business for them. And to see, 40, 50 young kids that are crushing it, like, there's a freaking Audi R8 out front, or a GTR at the time. He had the GTR.
Before he crashed it.
Yeah.
He bought it and like he got T-boned like 2 days later.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
Brandon Arnold sold him that car.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's how Donnie recruited Brandon Arnold because he's like, how the hell is it as a 19-year-old buying a Nissan GTR, and then Donnie does the Wolf of Wall Street thing. He pulls out the check and then Brandon quits his job.
I did that a couple of times too. It works. So I see all these kids for the most part out there and they're crushing it. They're all doing really well. They all have a swagger to them. Like they're confident, they're moving with purpose, and you have Ian speaking and he's really dropping some knowledge, and then you get up and you said something that like I still remember, which was, the purpose of you guys getting into this is not to stay in this. The purpose of getting into something like door-to-door and solar is to leave the company. You should make so much money that you're able to actually leave, right? And I heard that and I was like, everywhere I've ever worked, it's like all they want is a lifer, They just want somebody to submit, fill their pockets until the end of time, and that's it. They're not going to pour into them. They don't care. They're going to do enough to keep them there, and that's it. And that's 90% of the solar industry too. So like to see the CEO, like the spokesman of the company standing up and being like, I want you out of here in 2 years or I didn't do my job. And it's like, okay, I can follow that. Like that's my intention too. So like I'm all about it. And then, I go on to knock in California for my first week. I set a couple of appointments. The closers were shot. And then like I realized because coming from roofing, you do it all yourself. There's no setter closer. That was a really new concept to me. I realized like I just need to learn to close. Like I can set these things up, but like I need to close. So you were like, all right, well, we're gonna open up Florida, or we already have Florida like kind of up and running.
Houston.
Yep. Or we're gonna open up Texas. And at the time it was Austin.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that. It was a big hurdle for me.
Yeah.
So it was either Texas or Florida. And me and Amanda talked about it, and she was like, everything I think about Florida is old people. I don't want to go to Florida.
I remember.
So we're going to go to Texas. And a big caveat to this whole story is we had just found out we were pregnant. We were newly married, and we had just found out we were pregnant with our first. So eventually I come back from the 5 days, 7 days in California, and I'm like, all right, we're moving. We're going to go do solar. And we did. We packed up. We moved out to Round Rock, Texas, which is right outside of Austin. Started, I did a couple blitzes in between while running my roofing gig and kind of like powering down on that. I did a couple blitzes where I shadowed people in closes and stuff like that. And then we find out, oh, well, timelines in Austin are actually 9 months because they're missing something on the meters.
There's the chip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can't sell here
Yeah.
And I had just moved my entire life across the country with a pregnant wife and got a freaking 3,000 square foot house to rent for 2 years because I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm always all in when
Yeah.
I do something. And so, that was a very difficult time where I was stretched and forced to grow. And like eventually, when we pivoted, we went down to Houston and like we finally got settled, got a house, all that kind of stuff. But that was a really like strenuous time because like this is her first time pregnant. This is my first time with a pregnant wife and also very new wife in our first year of marriage. And I'm dragging her away from all lines of help to somewhere where she knows nobody. And now I'm leaving her for weeks at a time. And so like I've had like
that was probably really hard on her.
Very.
Yeah. So like,
very hard.
and like most people would be like, this is disorganized, and it was disorganized, right? Like so most people would be like disorganized, and they would dip, or they'd go find something that was like more safe.
Yeah, dude. You want to talk about disorganized?
What gave you? Yeah, I mean, we will probably talk about that. But why would you stick, and how did you convince your wife that like no, like we're gonna stay?
Well, because before we left, I closed my first deal. It was right before we went back home for Thanksgiving, and I closed my first, like it was the first deal that I got, period, because every time I had set something up, nobody could freaking close it. Every time I went in with somebody and they were like, oh, I'll put you on it, never got put on it. I was like, nobody's helping you here. You got to do it. And, I didn't know anything at that point. I just saw some people do some stuff. I was like, tell me where I click to sign things. And they were like, well, this is how you like get it started. And that was like all I knew was like, this is where you get it started. And I go out in the outskirts of Austin. I drove like an hour and a half away from where our house was because I would just like do that every day so I didn't have to go down to Houston. And I was knocking this like rich neighborhood in Spring, I think it was Spring, Texas. No, Dripping Springs is what it was called. And I still remember all this. And this dude opens the door. He's super chill, cool dude. I go inside. He was like director of sales for something. He just vibed with me. And he needed like a 17 kilowatt, something like that. And he had like mounts all over his office of different deer and all sorts of stuff he had killed all over the world and stuff. So I just talked to him about it. And then I was like, yeah, you need like this system that's going to take your bill from here to here. And he's like, cool, what do we do? I was like, I'll get it set up. Yeah. And like, I can't tell you what we need to do.
Figuring it out.
I just figured it out. Yeah. I fumbled through it. And I just like, was like, all right. And I was like, try that. And I just like, he was just clicking on stuff. I got docs submitted. I got it all done, got it installed. And I think I made like close to 20 bands on my first self-gen. And I knew that like I did the math on my way home to see my wife because she's like, all right, we moved out here. Like, you haven't gotten anything. Like, all right, what's going on here? Because it's seeming that this was a bad move. And then I go home and I'm like, we just made 20 grand. And she was like, and so that kind of like injected some belief into the game. And then from there, it was just like, all right, go do that as much as you can do that. And so like, that's what I did. Yeah. I just went and self-genned. That's all I focused on. I didn't have any care in the world to deal with a setter because all I thought about with setters was like, they were the guys that were too broke to bet on themselves. And I don't think that way anymore, but like, that's how I viewed it when I started because all of them were just like, they were always asking people for money or a ride or a this or whatever. And I was like, I don't want to deal with setters. They seem like they're going to hang me up. So I just went in self-gen. I was on my own, lone wolf, and, going on blitzes to Houston with some of that rowdy crew. I mean, dude, like I walk in one night from closing a deal and I cannot make this up. They're smoking weed in the B&B while getting tattoos on the counter. Like, can't make it up. And there's a dog over in like a pit bull over in the corner. I'm like, where am I? What have I gotten? But I was making more money than I'd ever made and I didn't care. I was like, I don't care what I have to go through. Like I said I was going to get this result. Like, I'm getting it.
Yeah, you do remember that time we did sit in the hotel and I was walking you through how to sell.
I'll go into that. Yeah,
I was walking you through how to sell.
It was in Houston. You were like, you need a process. Basically, that's what
you didn't have a process.
I didn't, and I didn't even know the docs. Nobody was coming to me and telling me anything. It was just like, go produce. But I pull up to the St. Regis in Houston, and Donnie comes down to the lobby. and we go off into this little like nook area, and he sits down with me and he's role playing, and I'm like going through this close, and then you come out like 15, 20 minutes after I started and pretended to be the wife, and you just derailed me. Like you just started like, you know, pretended like you entered the conversation late because you did. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't. And you just started like throwing me off and asking questions and stuff. And then you're like, you like cut me off and you're like, you don't have a process, bro. Like you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do this without a process.
Yeah.
And so, you taught me the process. I never wavered from the process. I stayed on that process the entire time I was closing out there. And, I got the results, and it was really just more or less like everything I had invested in myself up until that point now got to be put into play. I got to use the tools that I had stored in my toolbox. And it was finally, people got to see what I was made of. And I was like, yeah.
Well, dude, it's so crazy how like one little thing can change so much for you. Like even that, right? Like dude, it was my first time going through building a business, and like I didn't understand the importance of like, having a system, having things documented, making sure that everyone knows what to do, what the steps are. And you've yet to see the software that we're actually rolling it out this week. So every single step in the organization is documented, all company policy, all company process, sales, a sheet that we're gonna basically give access to somebody that comes into Better Life. And without speaking to a single person in our company, they have a checklist that keeps people accountable through software, technology, email follow-up that guides them step by step from I'm interested in Better Life to actually being RTS without having to talk to a single person.
That's fantastic.
So we have it, it's all mapped out. We literally just finalized it today. We've been working on it for the last several weeks, and it's getting sent out like this week. But even something like that is like coming in and be like, all we had to do is just give you a framework.
Yeah.
And then you can actually just step into it. You leave you leave Simple Solar after the company sells, and then go start something new.
It's a culmination of things. It's not just like one thing. One thing you just touched on, like I've seen this movie before. I was at Simple. I know what you're capable of, and like I know how you operate, like this is not another Simple. This is a far greater version of your ability to create a company, because you've learned, you've grown, you've put time and attention into, like you could literally have gone and done anything. You didn't need to build another organization where there's tons of people, tons of moving parts, tons of hard work, sleepless nights, losing money, all that. You didn't need to do that. You could have gone and invested in real estate with the money you made on the sale and been done. That's not you. You're the kind of person that like somebody like myself is like, yeah, I'll attach at the hip here, because this guy's not like, you would lose money before you would waver on your principles every time. Absolutely. And as have I. So it's like, I just align with a lot of your beliefs. I align with the work ethic and everything you stand for and the company stands for. There's a lot about alignment. And then also like trust.
That's a core value.
Yeah.
It's the major core value of Better Life is it's literally in the circles. It's the number one. It's the foundational piece is alignment.
Yeah. I think because of the alignment, the trust is just, there's a saying about people, like people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I think that the same is true with opportunities too. But what I've kind of touched on with my other ventures and things that I did was like, when I feel like I've outgrown something, I know that's my nudge that's my intuition. My intuition is telling me to move and pressure myself again. It's telling me to like go do something new and grow. And like being number one, yeah, that's all fine and dandy. It's like relative to the situation you're in, because maybe I'm at another organization and I'm not a number one guy. Maybe I'm not. I would, do my best to be that guy, but like maybe I'm not the guy that says I'm the best.
Yeah.
I believe I am, but I'm not gonna like go and puff my chest out at any place and be like, I'll beat all of you, right? Like I didn't do that at my last company. I didn't say like I'm gonna smoke everybody. I was quiet in both. I just did it. I don't talk a lot about what I'm gonna do. Like, yeah. It's not useful. It doesn't help. It doesn't move them. So like.
So what do you see with Better Life as like, okay, I want to be part of it. This is a very similar model to even car sales, to, Medicare and Better Life, and what we're doing is 100% different than anything I've ever seen before, which I was interested in, that made me like go and pursue this. And you're coming into something that's a totally, totally different model. Like, what do you see about this model and like what we're creating that makes you want to be part of that?
So like I was in D2D for 7 years, and like I'm so grateful for it. It shaped and molded, me as a business, if you want to call me that, as a, just an individual. And the skill sets that I acquired through doing it are like, you can't get them anywhere else. I encourage everyone at, earlier in their life.
Everyone should do door to door.
Everybody should do door to door.
My children will do door to door.
Absolutely, dude. Like, it is the greatest teacher. But I just realized like I had outgrown that, and then shifting my focus and realizing like, okay, I could come into Better Life and I could be your top producer, right? I've done that time and time again, and it's like, do something bigger, dude. Like, at the end of the day, it's like you hear that quote, it's not the people that aim really, really high and miss that are, miserable or upset with themselves. It's the guys that just aimed pretty low and hit
it. Yeah.
I don't want to like start bashing the solar industry because it gave me and my family a lot, but there's a lot of variables. You can't deny this. There are so many variables within that game, whether it's on the sales org side, the finance side, the installer side, the customer side, it's construction.
For sure. You go in with the expectation if I plug in A, I get B, but you could plug in A and you can end up at X.
Yes.
Or Q or R.
Yeah.
Or you can even get into the doubles where you go like A, B, A, C.
Yeah, it's alphabet soup, man.
It's a total alphabet soup of variables, and you have no idea what to expect. For myself, it was like I like it got to a point where it's like you submit a deal, and it's like you're throwing a Hail Mary, and just pray that it's anywhere near what you expected it.
Yeah, and like I love the people that solar attracts for the most part. I've seen some scumbags, but like a lot of the guys that I know and have made relationships with through the solar industry, whether it was at Simple, through a conference, through the last organization, like I do consider them friends and like I like them. I have no like ill will towards anybody. It's just like that industry is just, to me, it's become grimy. And not for the scammy side of it, not like it, just because you can't really trust almost anything. You can't. And even if you are like, oh, well, I'm going to bring it in house. It's like, cool. I've seen that happen. Like a couple people have made it out the other side and done it right, but very few and far between. And
it usually comes after like years of figuring, tons of turmoil.
Yeah. So it's like, I didn't trust the opportunity enough to build within it. Like people would reach out to me all the time about like, how are you making that much money? Like all this stuff. And I'd tell them, but I'm like, I sold them on not doing it. I'd be like, dude, this is not, like, trust me, this is not what it seems. Like, yes, I can win at this, and I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying I'm better than you or that I have a skill set nobody else does.
But it takes something,
It
right?
took so much for me to become the person that won at that level, and you're thinking I'm going to come in and win at this level. It's like maybe 1 out of 500 of the people that I talk to are going to do it. But that's only one. The other 499, I screwed their life up.
Yep.
They went broke trying to blitz. They got their hopes up on a commission and didn't get it.
Well, it's also long-sighted of you to be able to maintain your reputation and trust with people.
Yeah.
It's a very long-sighted situation.
I mean, that was a big thing for me, was like, if I bring somebody in, it's my responsibility. I brought my brother in. I brought my brother-in-law in, and he eventually started making money and stuff, but, he just got burnt out.
For sure.
It's fine. Like, he made more money than he ever made, and he just got burnt out.
So why do you have confidence in what we're doing?
The systems. It's the model and the systems within the model. Like, you don't rise to the level of your systems. And it's even with solar, like I heard that all the time, but I'm like, okay, well, we have these systems, but like, how are we falling below that? Like, it never equated because of all the variables. And it's so simple. It's been around for so long. It's just so cut and dry. It's black and white. It's polarizing. It's either this or it's not.
We've gotten rid of the variables.
The variables are gone.
The variables are, it's like you know exactly what you're getting. There's a percentage amount or it's a flat rate, and if you plug in this, you get this invariably.
Yeah.
It's standard across the board.
Yeah. I'm like, and like the other thought that comes into my head, I'm like, dude, I made well past the 7-figure mark doing guesswork. Like, imagine if I wasn't doing guesswork.
Predictable revenue.
And then imagine if I was repeatedly getting paid for the work that I was doing. And imagine if everybody that I brought in, if I helped them just a little bit to get them off the ground and teach them a very simple set of skills, they go change their financial future and they're repeatedly getting paid with residuals and they're making more money than they've ever made.
What are you most excited about with this opportunity?
The amount of people I'm gonna help make money. Like, so stoked.
Yeah. You didn't have confidence in what you were doing before.
Yeah, it wasn't there.
But this you see you're fully confident in.
There's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind about how many, like, I'm just like, how quick can I create a millionaire? Like, that's like the challenge that I have in my head is like, it's not about me. How quick can I help them make their first mill?
For sure. Well, our target's like within 3 years, by the end of 2028, our goal is to have 2,500 millionaires.
Yeah.
That's the goal of the organization. One of the goals of the organization is to have 2,500 millionaires by end of 2028.
Yeah, and even like,
And you see what we're doing in our office.
I know it's like, it's funny because like we talk numbers, we talk goals, we talk targets, we talk all this stuff, and it's like we've already blown past everything that we said a couple of months ago.
Talking about better life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't even like. It's not even like
It's pretty nuts what we're doing.
we don't even have the luxury of being like, in 4 years we're gonna be at this because we're probably gonna be past it.
For sure.
I don't even think we can comprehend how big it's going to be because like when guys that are in my shoes get the information,
Yeah.
we remove the ignorance from the situation and we can pull back a little bit of the ego of I'm this bad, mamma jamma of a solar guy. I ran a dealer. I did this. I built the teams. I did the blah, blah, blah. When we can pull back those layers and just be like black and white, this is what it is. If you do this, this is what you get.
Yeah.
It is going to shock everyone. And then like now people are starting to catch on. Now people are seeing it. Like we just posted the first time today on my Instagram and I can't even count how many DMs and calls lined up because people are hungry for getting the results that they work for. It's one thing to say like, oh, you need to get better with your retention or your closing or whatever. Okay, but what happens when they do that and then they still don't get the result because the deliverance on the other side isn't there?
Because it's an uncontrollable.
It's uncontrollable.
Yeah.
I'm excited because if I say, coaching somebody and it's like, hey, all right, we just need to work a little bit more on this and you're gonna see it reflect here. Number one, I can track that I can't really track the number of doors people knock.
How cool is the tech stack?
The tech is sick.
The tech stack is...
It's so dialed, it's so legit and transparent call where they couldn't get the sale. It could be a 50-minute call where they cross-sold 2 different products on top of the Medicare. You can listen to anybody's anything. There's full transparency. We couldn't really get a recording on the doors that well because it's like, muffled on the phone or the dog's barking.
Yeah, hiding in someone's back pocket.
Then you don't really know how many doors people have knocked and like, you could try to track it your best, but realistically, like people stop using those.
How big of a team do you think you're going to have in the next year? Like inside of your entire hierarchy?
Dude, I haven't even started to recruit and it'll be past 1,000.
Yeah.
Because I'm not talking to, just Chuck that saw my story that wants to sell Medicare. Like I will talk to Chuck, right? Come on, Chuck. But I'm talking to, John that has a 50 to 100 person team that has followed me and knows who I am either through, you posting about me or whatever. They're messaging me saying, dude, what is this? Why are people like, why am I hearing insurance so much? But most people are hearing life insurance, right? And so it's like roping them back in on the conversation of like, this is not life insurance. If you want
we don't want to be life insurance.
If you
don't want to be life insurance. Let the record show and state we do not want to be life insurance.
Yeah, you can go have that.
Yeah, we're proudly not life insurance.
Nothing wrong with it. If you want to do it, go do it. But like, we ain't doing it. So like reframing the conversation of like, hey, it's totally different than what you're thinking. You're not ripping 5 Gs on Betty on an hour-long call.
Yeah.
That's not what's going on here. It's a little bit different, right? The thing that we say on the door all the time, but it for real is. But it's different in an amazing way. And I love how it's structured because it rewards the guy that's not afraid to put his face in the fan and just keep working. Like the guys that grinded the hardest in solar, a lot of them didn't make the money that they should have.
Well, I mean, really solar is a get rich quick.
For sure.
That's what it is.
Yeah, for sure. As long as you get paid.
If you get paid, and if it, if it's so many ifs have to happen.
Very.
This is a get rich for sure.
Absolutely. Like that gets me excited because I know those guys.
Yeah. Would you rather have a 100% chance of becoming a millionaire in 5 years or a 5% chance of becoming it in 1?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is so easy.
But that's life insurance or solar or any like all those other things. This is not a like you still can have the 5% that do it in a year here, but if you hit the standard, would you agree that if you hit the standard, would you agree that in 5 years 100% of the people will do it if they stuck in this for 5 years?
Absolutely.
100% if they hit the standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the numbers are all laid out in front of us. It's very cut and dry, black and white, nothing's hidden, no guesswork. The commissions, like the money is coming from the actual government. It's not coming from anything out of our control, really. It's like these are programs that have been in place for decades. This is not new. This is just the best kept secret in sales.
And yeah.
And we have full-blown access to it. The reason that nobody's hearing about it is because the average Medicare agent is freaking 59 years old. They're fat, they're lazy, they don't care. They're making maybe 150 grand and they're chilling because they got all the residuals. And we're bringing in guys that like are literally tripling their numbers within their first 2 weeks, tripling the average that one of those guys does. Like they're cutting that curve down on when they're going to hit the numbers so much faster.
Like Better Life has been doing Medicare for less than 40 days, and we're almost at 4,000 customers.
Yeah, not shocked.
It's disgusting.
It's shocking to compare to the industry, but I'm not shocked that that's the case.
Yeah. And it's also a matter of, we haven't been doing this for 4 weeks. This has also been now 15 years of my experience of now coming into the perfect moment and hitting it. It's like, it's preparation meets opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just you. One of your biggest, character traits that I appreciate is like you are so gung-ho on finding the best person for the one little task. Like that niche sort of thing that needs to be taken care of day in and day out. You find the guy that's just completely tailored for it. Like you've got Ed, dude, he told me his story yesterday about like selling his first business at 18, travel. He's been to like 6, 7 different countries already. Lived there, 7 different countries, built businesses there, sold them, was in private equity. Like he's 26 years old and the guy has lived 9 lives. And he also speaks like 7 languages, which is crazy. But like somebody like that handling our operations, like handling all of the problems. That guy was literally tailored to fix freaking problems. Then you have Josh Welsh. He's got well over a decade of experience running teams, building teams. And he has great communication skills. And it's just, each person is in their exact spot how they should be. And the culture, like everybody likes to talk about culture in the door-to-door industry. That's all anybody talks about. And realistically, all the culture is the group chat. That's all it is. It's the group chat. And then
group chat can be hype sometimes.
They can. I got rowdy in a couple group chats, but like just having a group chat that sometimes is somebody sending in a motivational quote or whatever, or you all tag each other on Instagram and repost each other's stories so I see it 12 times a day. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not culture. Like the real culture that I've been craving, that I've been looking for is like, we bring people in and we change their lives for real. They have results to show. They have a new car to show. They have financial security to show. They are able to provide for their family. That's culture that's changing the life of somebody else and, developing it through just straight work ethic. This isn't rah. I get it why it's rah and door to door. It's typically young 20-somethings and it's needed. You
need to create artificial dopamine to give somebody like enough like serotonin so that they can go out and like hit doors all day.
Yeah.
It's artificial.
Yeah.
Like you've been with us at our office. You haven't seen any rah.
No. It's so sick. It's literally like you go in, everybody's on time. Nobody comes in late.
Everyone's on time.
Every single
person is on time in their seat.
I was like 3 minutes early today, or earlier the start time. Really, I was late, compared to everyone else. And so everybody's already in their chairs, ready. A top producer from another organization that's recognizing what's going on, you're able to get them on the phone and teach the team on how to amplify their commissions by helping people even more. New word tracks, like a new skill set, adding actual value to people that they can see in real time today. They will see it on their calls. That is not raw, that's real culture. That's what people really need if they're going to progress. It can't be you're doing the exact same thing over and over and over. You don't add to, and then you're like, why are we going backwards? It's like, number one, everybody's bored, bro. Everybody's bored,
Yeah.
they're all bored. Number two, they're probably getting worse.
Yeah.
Because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So they're probably getting worse. And then on top of it, you just have nothing to show for the work that you've already done. It's like, yeah, no wonder you're going backwards. It's like, it's all working against you. And this is all working for us.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've never felt this amount of momentum in anything. I've never seen this kind of culture before.
Even with Simple, Simple took years to build. What we've done in the last month, I already believe, is a better culture than we've ever experienced at Simple. Literally in the last month, we built.
Yeah, blows it out of the water.
Absolutely, if that was, and Simple was one of the best in solar. In the solar industry, Simple was one of the best.
For sure.
And Simple really paved the way for what other solar companies did in terms of production, branding, marketing, getting recognition, etc. And we were one of the top there. And even with that, what we've done in a month with we're still piecing everything together. We're still trying to figure it out.
I know, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's like organized chaos.
Yeah.
But
progress, and every single day we're selling more than we were
progress,
doing before.
results, you got all of the positive markers that you would want.
Yeah.
It's just not exactly 100% sure on how we're getting all of them.
Yeah.
But it's freaking working.
And people are getting paid. Commissions are hitting. We're actually ahead of schedule on commissions. We told people that they're going to get paid the third Friday of every month is what we told. And we're a month ahead of schedule in terms of when we said that they're going to get paid. Now, not all of it has come, but some of them we've gotten some advances on, and we're Better Life's if we get the money, we want the money out. We don't want to be super cash rich right now. We want to be able to flow that momentum to the salespeople. So we're pushing out as soon as things come in, and if we can overperform and deliver faster than what people expect, we do that 100% of the time.
Yeah, but what I'm really appreciating about all of it is this is all of it's been under promise, and it's all being over delivered.
Yeah.
It's easy to go on an Instagram story and be like, yeah, look, everybody's here, we're all doing this. It's really like that. It's actually like that nonstop. It doesn't change. There's no fakeness. There's no do it for the camera. There's no, we're taking a trip to wherever, some nice place with the leaders to put some cool videos on our Instagram to make it seem like everybody's balling. Meanwhile, they're all handling massive pipeline issues and setters that are completely broke, and they're floating them. Dude, it's so much different.
I mean, everybody here makes money.
Yes.
Nobody doesn't make money.
Yes. That's my one big, it bothered me so much. Yes, I got paid a lot. Yes, I sold a lot and I did a lot. And everybody's being sold the same dream. Mm-hmm. And I get it. Everybody is sold the same dream. It just costs different for everybody, right? I know that there's guys that didn't do what they were supposed to do. I know there's guys that never got out of their shell and started closing, and they just stayed in the setter position and ended up getting out of the game. I know that there's an opposite side to this, and I'm not trying to throw that to the side. But the fact is, if all this is being sold as this is amazing for freaking everybody, then why isn't it amazing for everybody? Mm-hmm. Why is it that even a lot of the top level guys are super frustrated? It's just a broken game.
Have you seen a single person complain in the company?
Dude, no. And if they do complain, they're out.
It's so
they're out. You're so out of place if you're complaining or negative or anything. it just is weird. Like,
It's very weird.
yeah, like
It goes against one of our principles.
nobody's gonna feed into that.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna be okay with you like talking trash. Like
Like what would you say that to anyone that's on the fence? Because you've done a lot of research on this. Like you've been
yeah,
like
100%.
you and I have been having a conversation about this for probably close to a year. And you were telling me like, hey, like come 2025, like I don't want to be doing door to door anymore. I have different focuses, priorities. Obviously, working remote is a very important thing for you.
Yeah.
Being able to get the residual and renewal income is good for you. You want to get off the hamster wheel. All of those things. You know, for somebody who's on the fence, what would you say should be the reason why they just take that step forward and come and see what we're doing?
I think it's going to take introspective work on their part. I think you need to ask yourself, why am I on the fence? Because I don't believe in myself enough to make another switch. Like, find out why you're on the fence and then realize, like, okay, if what they're saying is true, me holding on to my excuse here or my comfortability or whatever it is could potentially cost me the future I was supposed to have. Like, if you don't tap into that voice that's like, dude, take a look. Like, if you look at it and you don't like it, stay where you're at. What's the worst that can happen? You're not gonna like it? Oh no, at least you know. But if you look at it and then everything that we say is backed up, black and white, now you got to ask yourself, are you in the right vehicle? And then figure out, which side of the fence you're on with that one.
Yeah.
But
what do you think about people who are like, oh, but I'm loyal. I'm loyal to my leader. What about people who a lot of leaders out there, they use the idea of loyalty as in my head and in my mind, I'm like, if I stop providing value to you and you think that you can go get better somewhere else, you should go. Because that's on me. Like I believe people who use the word loyalty, it's a tactic of manipulation.
yeah,
In my beliefs, somebody is only loyal to me so long as I'm loyal to helping them achieve the goals that they have. And if I don't help them achieve the goals that they have, then that means that I've compromised my loyalty and my integrity on what I said I'll do for the people who join my organization, and they should leave me.
yeah.
That's how I believe. But a lot of people get stuck on this idea of loyalty. What do you think about loyalty?
I mean, it's a characteristic that I think everybody should have, but with discernment. And I don't think that you should throw the word around lightly. And above all, you should be loyal to yourself. That should be your priority. And why are you going to put one man above yourself? At the end of the day, when I'm on my deathbed, it's like, okay, well, I'm so glad I stuck with Mo, even though I got burned and lost my house. And like, no, bro, be loyal to yourself. And then kind of all the way back to what I was talking about. When you have a certain set of beliefs, but your actions, because it's not in alignment with you or it doesn't serve you anymore, or is it something you battle because the action itself is just kind of difficult?
Yeah.
The introspective work that people neglect is the reason that they aren't where they want to be.
What would you say are your top 3 biggest values, most important values in bringing people to come and work with you? Like what are your most 3 important values or principles?
5% left. And I don't want this.
Yeah, we're about to. Oh, you got to end it.
Well, we is about to end it.
Yeah,
We don't want to lose the footage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're about to end it. So we're gonna. Is this question and then
want to let you know.
what's 5%? Is that 2 minutes? 5 minutes?
We'll say about 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay, so let's just actually go ahead to go to conclusion in less than 2 minutes. So we good?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Madison, look, I'm excited. First of all, I had a good time. I learned a lot about myself also. I appreciate a lot of those memories that you stirred back and brought to me. I'm excited for a year out to have another one of these, and then we start talking about all the things that you've done in 12 months. As we bring this to conclusions, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
I mean, I'm just grateful, man.
Yeah.
This probably couldn't have came at a better time. So grateful.
Okay. I'm grateful too. Thanks, bro.
Thanks.
Yeah.